What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's Irate, PROSTATE here. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for hot takes. And I'm here hanging with my Bubba, Big Fat Brian. Say hey, brother.
What up, fam?
What's happening, people? Brian, you want to talk?
Oh, I just wanted to say we got Goat Man in here already.
All right.
This stream's already popping.
Dude, man, when the Goat Man shows, the show won't blow.
Exactly. He's like a groundhog. He pops up and he's like, man, is this going to be good? And if he leaves, you're fucked.
You gotta stay,
Gotta stay, asshole.
Bless your little hooves, man. And say hey to Nope. What's up, man? All right. We're having too much fun. All right, so we this week we're talking about Rotten, which is I guess you could say it's a Netflix original series that runs like mini documentaries, right? This season's about the food industry, right? And maybe every season will be about the food industry, and each episode is like a mini doc covering certain aspects of the food industry, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to start by saying we ended up not watching the final episode of that, the fish episode, because I messed up.
Or we could say the other reason.
It's gay.
Fuck
really
fish.
Gay. Fuck fish. Nobody gives a fuck about fish. Let's be honest.
No shit.
I mean, I saw it. I was like, "That's the last one." I could watch it. No, no, I'm not doing that. But why don't we get started with the probably the first episode, the honey episode, right?
Yeah, the first episode is about honey. I think it's called "Send Lawyers, Guns, and Honey," based on the old song by I can't remember the guy's name right now. It's Warren Zevon. That's who did it. That's right. "Lawyers, Guns, and Money" is a great classic song off of the Excitable Boy album. So it's "Send Lawyers, Guns, and Honey." And it talks about the honey industry and how the bee population has decreased significantly over the past 20 years. They really didn't explore as to many reasons why. They didn't touch into the Africanization, the Africanized bees, and their movement.
The killer bees, essentially.
Yeah, and now they're crossbreeding with different kinds of bees. So we're coming up with completely new species of bees right now, and I think that might have something to do, with honey production.
It actually has to do with capping issues. So do you know anything about how bees cap their hives for pupa?
No. Talk about that.
Okay, so there was an experiment done. There was what's called a type A bee and a type B bee. Type A bees will put the pupa inside the honeycomb, so their offspring, and they will cap it. And then they'll forget to uncap it. And if they don't uncap it, then the pupa dies. Type B bees, they don't cap it, and the pupa dies. And type C, which is your original or your average bee, when introduced into these hives, can actually fix that problem. But the same can happen of the other type of bee. So if you introduce type A bee into a type C hive, you can completely destroy the hive, which is a lot of the theory behind what's happening. And part of it is, these are just theories. But part of it is that they think the mix between the African or possibly pesticides is causing this.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think historically pesticides had the indicators were pointing to that being the main cause of the situation. And also the episode focuses on how these beekeepers can actually, like, you know, move their bees to different parts, and there's a certain group of keepers that basically their bees pollinize the entire, just about the entire production of almonds in the United States.
Yeah.
And that, but where was that? In South Dakota? It was in a
no. It's in California actually. It's not too far away from me, to be honest.
Oh.
And there's a section in this documentary where they talk about the bee thefts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how, you know, a bee farmer will bring out a bunch of bees to pollinate these almond fields, and somebody with knowledge of bees will come by and steal it. And you wouldn't think it would be that lucrative, but it is. There's a lot of people that steal bees out here, which I thought that was great that the documentary went over that, because that is a huge problem.
Right.
You know, that's really bad for pretty much every business. You know, a lot of people will take out like half of what they have in bees, put it on a pollination field, which already is questionable because you're already cross-contaminating your bees with other bees, and then they'll get them all stolen. And a whole hive, you know, one hive is worth like $300.
Wow. I'm looking at Goatman is putting some interesting information in there. He's also talking about some of the bees have been made gay. And there was a guy, you know, a lot of the guys that talked about the bees, they referred to them as she. So, like, are these all like lesbian bees, or is that what we're talking about? Or are you talking about the drones? Were they talking about the drones, the worker bees?
I wouldn't know anything about gay bees. I mean, it sounds a little bit like the gay frogs thing, but hey, that was real, so you know.
Yeah. I was just wondering if that was a thing, that, you know, because the episode surely didn't cover that, you know, if it was a thing, and if it was a joke, it was pretty fucking funny. So we can't lose either way with that one, man.
Metaphorist says that bees are expensive to keep. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. Not just the $300 for the bee hive, because you're looking at like basically $50 for your crate and your frames and stuff, and then about $250 to $200 for bees. But keeping them is really expensive because you have to keep them in climate-controlled areas.
Right.
Otherwise, they'll die, and you got to make sure that they're not getting. You know, if one beehive dies, you got to make sure to pull it away from all the others so that the others don't die and stuff like that. It's really that's a full-time job, and I think the documentary did a really good job of explaining how you know, farming bees and on almost anything in this documentary, farming anything in general is going downhill quickly, and it's sort of frightening because bees are really fucking important when it comes to agriculture.
Absolutely. When it comes to fucking plant life on this fucking planet,
on the planet, it's
they're very important. You know, they're one of the chief methods that most of the flowering perennials or biennials, I can't remember what they are pollinated by bees specifically. And and so it also the episode starts to get into, and I think, how much production do they have to get to even break even? They have
wasn't it 10,000 pounds or something?
Yeah, something like that. And that's, you know, per like group of bees, and that's like a group of like, what is it, 12 hives? I can't remember what he said, to be honest with you. There was a lot of numbers in that thing, dude, and sometimes my brain just turns off with that shit.
Well, yeah,
you know,
we got there was a lot of content in there.
Yeah,
too.
dude.
Like,
I mean,
there's so much to remember.
The whole series is really, man. There's a lot of numbers and there's a lot of info, and it's like you really have to, you have to be. They put a lot of work into it. You can tell. And with the bee situation, it seemed like that they were implying that there's an upward turn, and that maybe, you know, the bee situation it can get better. And they were pointing to the almond trees being a big part of that. Because almond production has been, you know, the demand for almonds has like quadrupled because of the popularity of almond milk. Is that it? Quadrupled?
I mean, you know, I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember for sure. But yeah, it's something like that. It's pretty close to that, if not that.
And they were saying that alone can help for the bee population because, you know, it leads to people to, you know, to I guess to make more bee, to, you know, keep their hives. I don't know I didn't get how that was going to work. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make sense to me. You know, but
yeah, well, one thing I did want to talk about though, like, so, sort of to your point, was that, you know, we have the demand for honey is going up, but we're producing technically less every year. We're producing more, but less. Like our increase of honey is smaller every year. So instead of producing 25% more a year, we're producing like 23% and then 22%, you know, and so on and so forth. But the demand is skyrocketing, and all of a sudden we have all of this honey that's showing up out of nowhere, which I can attest to, because I actually, a couple of people probably know this about me, but I make honey mead on a regular basis, right? And you can taste the difference between the honeys that you get. So if you get an almond honey or a wildflower honey or a clover honey, you're going to taste the difference. Also, you can definitely taste the difference if you buy the honey from like a local farm around here, or if you buy it from the store. And even more so, you can taste a bigger difference when you buy it in bulk offline, because you can get honey for about $3 to $4 a pound online, as long as you buy it in bulk. But I can guarantee you that is exactly like they say in this documentary, that the honey is unpure, and that they use what is it called, rice malt, because
it's like corn syrup, but it's the Chinese cheat to get around it, right? Because corn syrup's detectable, right? And they found that the rice equivalent of corn syrup, which they call rice syrup, could cheat the test, right? Oh, yeah, and it goes back to this, like, if you watch Breaking Bad, you remember Madrigal Corporation. There's a company that's kind of like that, that's in Germany, that's behind a lot of the market manipulations, you know, and the import of Chinese honey, because they cut corners, and you know, it is, you know. See, I remember being a kid and growing up, and you can taste in good clover honey. You can taste the fucking the clover in it. You know,
I totally agree. Actually, so I have a friend who has a local farm here, and I talked to him. I'm like, you know, do you mind if I get a couple of pounds of honey to make 1 gallon of mead? Because I had never had fresh farmed honey. Like this is literally, he extracted it from the hive probably a day before this, you know? And I made 1 gallon of mead with it, and I'm like, holy shit, this tastes way, way better. One thing you notice is that you can taste the sweetness of like rice syrup or rice malt is what it is. It's sweeter, but it doesn't have the subtle notes of honey, like the pollen flavor or the you know, the, I almost want to call it a rich golden flavor, but that's a color, you know. But you can tell the difference.
The viscosity's different, man. But
yes, the viscosity is way different. Like when you make the essentially the rice malt mix into a mead, it's like liquidy. It's gross.
Right. And good honey is like, I mean, it should take time coming out, you know, and it's like real thick and shit. And the syrupy stuff is a lot thinner. That's what I meant by viscosity. The thickness.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. See that, and that's something I don't eat honey a whole lot nowadays. But when I was a kid, we'd eat that, and it was it was just beautiful and it was pure. This is I'm talking like 30 years ago. When I was a kid. And now
we got Death Harukin in chat.
Death Harukin, man, what's up, dude? It's good to see you. What's up?
I didn't mean to interrupt your thought there.
No, let's see. Yeah, when I was a kid, we would get this really good clover honey, man, and it was so thick and it was flavorful, and it was like you could make a honey sandwich. I don't think you could make a honey sandwich out of some of this shit that's coming out now because it's almost like it's made to be used as an ingredient instead of as a condiment. The back of it, you see, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. I mean, and that comes down to once again, the obvious market saturation of contaminated honey, which I got to say for episode 1, I thought that this was a great opener for the series.
Yeah,
it drew me in, and obviously, I mean, I can probably relate to it a little more than other people, being that I live in an area where bees are pretty prevalent, and I make honeybee. But
right, and you've got a natural science. You love science, and you've got a head for the studies and stuff too. So this show is really. I figured it would be right up your alley. Especially when I saw the first episode, I said, "Oh yeah, he's going to be queer as shit for this stuff." And I get it. The second episode's about peanuts and how there's the peanut is one of the few things that's just still growing. It can grow. It produces its own nitrogen. So right, exactly. So they make their own fucking fertilizer, basically, and they're perfect for crop rotation. So you can grow a crop of peanuts, and then boom, you can pop like potatoes in it, or something else, because it helps refresh the soil. And tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, and so. They started talking about peanut allergies and how I had talked to Brian about this. Usually if you're younger and I've talked to you like for a lot, all right, I've always I always bring this shit up. Back in the days, I didn't wear a fucking helmet when I rode my bicycle, and there were no fucking peanut allergies, man.
The good old days with natural selection.
We ate bologna and peanut butter, goddammit. We loved it. It was the peanuts were a part of your life, man. Crunchy peanut butter. To this day, I've got a weakness for that shit because it tastes so good. I love it. My dad would get like raw peanuts and we would roast them, fresh roasted nuts, and watch football games and shit.
Well, I mean, like, you notice how the cheapo brands nowadays, like Jiffy and Skippy and stuff, they're shit. That's mostly fat. Like, it doesn't even taste like peanuts, barely.
Yeah, I see. I like the old. I'll get, if I do get some now, as I prefer the natural, homemade, type of peanut butter. The kind you have to mix, because the oil separates from it and stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's really good shit. But so all right, so it's these peanut allergies pop up. And they talk about how like these kids they're coming in, like they're in a second generation of these children that are highly allergic to all these different foods.
Soy boys.
Well, some of them are even allergic to soy.
God! Oh, that's right.
I remember this one kid was saying, I'm allergic to peanuts, almonds, all these different nuts, right? And then he said, I'm allergic to wheat and then a whole like list of different types of grains, and then the guy said I'm allergic to shellfish and fin fish. And I said, well, fuck, that just, what do you eat, raw hamburger? That's like only, that just, shit, that's crazy.
Well, did you get the feeling during this episode, though, that some of those people that were listing off their allergies, because it was mostly kids listing off their allergies, and they always had their mom standing behind them, and they were always dressed a certain way, and it felt like, yeah, this is middle America. This is like a culture of complaining and a culture of, I have this allergy, which makes me special, you know?
Well, that comes up in the milk episode for me, okay? There's one mother that, all right, you know who I'm talking about, and we'll talk about her later. All right, if you want to, we can segue into the milk. I don't know, whatever.
Well, we can segue into the milk after this one, yeah.
Yeah, because, anyway, so they're talking about that, and then they talk about there being a shortage of almonds because in the previous episode, of course, we learned that almonds are, having to be produced on a larger level because of the demand for almond milk, right?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because this is one thing that I noticed that was wrong in this documentary.
Oh, the powdered almond?
Do you know? No, not the powdered almond part. I'm talking about the almond milk part because they kept referring to almond milk, right?
Right.
Do you know how many almonds are in almond milk?
I would guess not many.
There's very few. It's like 2. There's not a whole lot of almond in almond milk. Otherwise, it would be almond paste.
Well, what is it primarily then? Because they were saying, they were using that as like, okay, yeah, almond, go ahead.
I believe it's carrageenan. Let me, I'm looking it up right now.
And what is carrageenan and where does that come from? I'm just a dumb redneck over here, man. You're going to have to talk to me like
Okay, so... What are the ingredients of almond milk? Ingredients: almond milk, filtered almonds, sugarcane is the first ingredient, but that's like a soak of almonds. Then it's cane sugar, vitamin and mineral blend, aka fortifying the food. So they put like vitamin D, E, A, P, palminate, and vitamin D2, sea salt, natural flavor, lectin, locust bean gum, and ascorbic acid. Is from, I believe this is from Almond Breeze. But almond milk only contains 2% almond, which is the lawsuit versus Blue Diamond in 2015. So, there's, 2% or less is the thing. So, what, I mean, mostly it's water if you think about it. That's that. So when this documentary came to the almond portion of this, I was like, they're sort of inaccurate.
All right, so then that begs the question, like, is all the science solid in this thing? Then shit.
Well, so what I did was I actually went through and I looked at the science on most of the stuff, which is why I had that link to the NHI.
Yeah.
Or NIH. And I looked through most of it, and that they're not actually claiming that as the science in the documentary. It's literally just somebody's comment on it. Like, this might be why.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So, yeah, so it's not really, they don't use it as legitimate science, but it is a bit misleading.
All right, so, but the reason it comes up is that in a lot of, I guess, Indian curry recipes, they are supposed to use almond powder as probably a thickening agent and a flavoring agent, right? And it's relatively expensive, so to cut corners, of course, because corner cutting's where it's all at, right? And you'll notice that in every one of these episodes, some motherfucker is trying to cut corners somewhere, right? Because it's all about the buck, all right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, cutting corners leads to shit happening, right? So they use the powdered peanut shit, right? which like a gajillion people are now allergic to. 1 in 13 people, 1 in 13 kids is allergic to some type of food, a major food allergy, which can kill them, okay?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And maybe it's the herd thinning itself. You know, nobody ever looks at that as being a possibility.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because there is a little bit of a problem with not really having as much natural selection around, you know?
Right, exactly, because we've got a lot of people that they're living longer and they're breeding more, you know? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, they're having kids at much older ages, which is something that we didn't used to do, really, because we didn't make it to the older ages.
Right, exactly.
So there were a lot, you know, there's a lot of genetic decay when it comes to that, and then there's the fact that we aren't calling the herd. You know, people don't play on the jungle gym anymore and fall off, and then that one kid died that one year. You know,
yeah, exactly.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Exactly, man. Because we got the overprotected mother age, man, where they've got the fucking alcohol goop in their fucking purse. So, you know, the kids, you know, gets fucking like, you know, doesn't get any kind of good dirt, man. Man, we used to put dirt in cuts. I would get cut, and my friend would say, put some dirt on it. And I would put dirt on it, man, and we would get up and go on, man. Click a 1 if you've ever put dirt on a fucking open cut. All right? You'll see who all the older folks are. All right?
Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't part of that generation. That's for sure.
You know, and it leads to, you know, and then, you know, we get to this thing where like this guy creates this whole restaurant based on these allergies, right? But based around these allergies, where he's got this real simple way so these people can come there and eat, you know, and he's making a shitload of money because they'll pay an extra $30-$50, you know, for a family to eat, where, you know, they don't have to take their kid to the ER, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and this guy started complaining because there's so many people that with these fucking pseudo allergies. They're not allergic to shit, but they say they're allergic to shit like, you know, gluten. Okay? To be honest with you, celiac disease is a very rare disease, and it only occurs in a small percentage of people, and it's usually of Mediterranean descent. Okay?
L'chaim, Goyim.
It's a Jew disease. No, man, but actually, there are some Jewish people that you know are definitely you know have it. As part of the deal.
I'm lactose intolerant.
You know, it's just, you know, whatever. All right, so
I drink and eat it anyway. Screw it.
Well, yeah, right. And he said, you know, he had, you know, one person that, you know, he saw him eating a cookie later, and they said, you know, he said that didn't compute. It pissed him off because he said there's actual people with children that will die if they eat, you know, if they eat something, you know, that's got, you know, these ingredients in them. You know, one woman said that she was allergic to large chopped nuts. And he's like, what the fuck? You mean if I chop them small, you're not allergic to them?
It's about the size, Irate. I mean, if it's too big, I break out in hives.
I'll choke on it. It's too big.
Oh my god! I can see how that guy is sort of pissed off about the fact that, you know, somebody would be lying about allergies. But if you're running a restaurant, 'cause he clearly runs a niche restaurant. I'll paint a picture for our audience. This is a guy that like was priding himself on the restaurant he ran that gave the option to eat allergen-free foods. Like, that's the gimmick that he's running on,
right?
You know. So if you're gonna have a restaurant like that, it's your fault when people come in there with fake allergies and want you to do weird shit for them. That's I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for him. Like, that's you. That's all you. You said you were going to do it. Now do it.
All right. There's some interesting quotes in the chat I've got to read out. All right. JTR, Gulf City serial killer, also known as Jack the Ripper, who I'm interviewing this Sunday on the Ice Cream Interviews. So I say, JTR? Check that out. JTR says, let the weak die off. Remove all food warning labels. And then Goat Man right after that says, yeah, I have one allergy. It's ass rape.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. I was getting a drink of my coffee. You got me.
You're not allergic to coffee now, are you?
Yeah. No. Well, it needs to be cut into smaller pieces.
Just hearing funny shit while you're drinking it, man. Is your keyboard okay?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. It didn't go anywhere. I kept it all in.
We are golden. Okay, so and then the study that Brian is talking about is where they discovered that in Israel they have almost a zero peanut allergy. Okay, and all babies eat this one little snack. It's kind of like a thing in the country, right?
It's called
something.
Bamba?
Yeah, something like that. And its main ingredient is peanuts, right? So babies exposed to peanuts aren't developing peanut allergies, right?
Yeah.
So the best way to maybe, they're saying maybe if you expose these, because they started talking about how the body's, anaphylaxis is a reaction to expel something out of the body. It's trying to get rid of something out of the body very quickly, right? And and they talked about how peanut proteins were reacting with these people who actually really have. I mean, some of these people can fucking die from touching the shit. I mean, just a little spot of peanut oil, and boom, they're dead. Mm-hmm. Like that. So, it's.
We got finer print in the chat.
Finer print is it Bamba? Is that the stuff? Is that called Bamba?
Bamba from Israel.
Bamba,
the peanut snack.
The peanut snack for babies.
I mean, I'm assuming everyone eats it.
He'll let us know. So I found that fascinating, because I always, it's growing up, it was like getting more and more. I've noticed, as I got older, it's like, goddamn. More and more people are like having peanut allergies. When I was a kid, man, we never heard of it. I swear to God, we did not have an allergy table. The grossest thing that I ever saw at school was somebody throw up a fried bologna sandwich and milk like that was curdled, and it smelled horrible. I'm just thinking. I need to stop talking about it. It's gross as fuck. That was gross.
Well, we do have confirmation from Fire and Print. It is Bamba.
Bamba, yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I guess what? How can we sum up this episode? We can say that the Jews control your allergies.
I ain't saying nothing like that. But that's actually that. Yeah, it's like I hope that that's the case, man. I hope that's the simple solution to this thing, man, because peanuts are fucking awesome, man. I love peanuts. It's like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. How did you feel about like the them trying to pull at your heartstrings with the like family peanuts, 3-generation peanut farm thing they had mixed?
You could tell that they were like fucking little fake. The way the daughter and the dad played off of each other. The Jimmy Carter, the former president of the United States, was from a peanut family. Those motherfuckers get rich off of that stuff. I mean, so it's like it didn't pull on my heartstrings at all because like she pointed out. I mean, they could always rotate the crops with something else. If the need for peanut production goes down, they can always do like half of the fucking acres that they were using. It looked like it was about 4 acres. Of just peanuts as far as the eye could see.
Guys! Why are we talking about mundane math's method of payment?
Oh boy, what's going on, Fire Print?
How's it going, Negroes?
It's going all right.
We were talking about Rotten. We were on episode 2. I think we were pretty much done with episode 2. Though,
Yeah,
right?
we're done with episode 2.
And then we're go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We're on to episode. Do you want to do milk or chickens?
Well, I wanted to go into the milk thing. Brent, is it okay if Brian and I finish this without you? We were just talking about Bomba a little bit, but you want to give your comment on Bomba?
Oh, comment on Bomba? Bomba is the shit. It's like Cheetos, but it tastes like peanut butter.
Killer. Oh, fuck yeah.
That sounds awesome, actually. That sounds awesome.
Shit. I'll see myself out. See you guys.
Thanks, bud.
Thug life, sir.
Yep.
All right, and so we're on the milk episode.
Yeah, the milk episode. This episode probably. I'm gonna be honest. It seemed, to be fair, it was boring a little bit to me, and I found that raw milk has bacteria in it. You know, it's not something that really anyone would question, because pasteurizing, the method of heating your food so that you kill off all the bacteria and it lasts longer, is it's been around for 150 years. So I don't like this whole raw milk fad and everything that they were going over. Like, I honestly think of that as a natural selection right there. If you drink raw milk, no,
that's stupid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was telling Uzi Q while we were watching it, it's like, that's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen. And they didn't even talk about they're looking at these alternative methods to to homogenize the milk anyway, so that they could still not homogenize that, pasteurize it.
Pasteurize, like acid pasteurizing or salt pasteurizing,
or even like light radiation.
pasteurization.
Yeah, what they're doing with the with meats and stuff. That's in the future though. They haven't gotten it down yet. But yeah, so Goatman says he grew up drinking raw milk. I'm sure it was goat's milk too. I'm sure it was good.
Well, I mean, Goatman, did you grow up drinking raw milk from a local farm, or did you grow up drinking raw milk from like legitimately random sources, thinking it was a new hipster fad that's great? Because that's sort of the image I got from this documentary.
Yeah.
We're not talking like 1970s or 1980s raw milk. We're talking nowadays, with the industrial farming complex making raw milk. And to be fair, like, when you look at the animals, like, they went through a facility that was pretty good about cleaning their animals and everything, but even then, cows have shit on their udders. Like,
yeah, right. And so you got to clean them. The dude did say, the former, did you notice he said former vegan? I thought that was funny as shit. So he said it was a local farm. Goatman said
that's probably a lot safer.
Yeah, because the people that you're dealing with, and probably they're going to work to provide their local people a better product.
I got to stop you here real quick. We have Cynic. Oh, hey, it's Dinesh D'Souza. We had Dinesh D'Souza on Irate. If you're still watching Finer Print, I love you, man. Yeah. So back to the cows with poo all over their udders.
Yeah, man. So you got to clean those. You got to clean, because they walk around. It's like the guy said. They've got that little shower system that sprays their bodies and gets all the stuff off of them to get in. But they've got to clean the udders themselves off, right?
Yeah.
You
got to scrub that.
You got to clean the nipples, all right, before you put them on the machine, man. I mean, it just makes sense. You got to desanitize. You got to sanitize it, not desanitize it. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So you got to, and they, the guys dipping it, they said they dip it in iodine, and and then they wipe the nipple off and they give a couple of squirts, to make sure that you know, that I guess the nipple's not going to shoot the iodine at them.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you know, all right. So the lady. So there's this supposedly pathetic child that spent like, you know, almost a year in the hospital, and it was from E. coli, you know, entering his kidneys. You know, I can't. It's called uremic something
weird.
syndrome.
It's like that shit thing came back to bite him in the ass.
Exactly. It was E. coli. Exactly. Which is, you know, shit.
Yeah, it's poop.
It's from poop. Exactly. I wrote it down and I am not finding where the fuck I put it. Yeah, because they're saying it's a panacea, right? It's some kind of you know, they showed one woman that was buying the raw milk for her baby that had been born at 6 months, and you know, and she was saying that the milk was making her baby stronger and shit. And I'm like, hold on, man, how do you know that? You know what I'm saying? How do we know that's not Mother Nature just doing her thing? You know, I don't know, man. It just didn't seem right. The whole trendiness thing definitely rang a bell to me, because all you got to do is raise the shit to 116 degrees for 15 seconds, right? And then cool.
165.
Oh, is it 165?
Yeah,
I thought
it's 165. Yeah.
Okay, for 15 seconds, and then boom, cool it down, right? And it'll kill all the bacteria in there. That's all you got to do. And you know, the way that you can do that is real simple. There's real simple ways. There's, you know, huge vats that, you know, stainless steel that have, you know, they have you know, pipes running through them that you know, you can put, you know, ice cold water running through it, and it'll cool it down instantly, man. And boom, you're taking care of it. Just heat it up and then throw it into those vats and then cool it down like that. Shit.
Well, and it's not like it's a new thing. This is a commercialized system for, I don't know,
pasteurization. You're right. Right. Louis Pasteur developed the process in what, 1860-ish, maybe even before that. No, I think it was in the 1860s. I want to say, because it was right around Civil War time.
But yeah, back to what you're saying about like the milk healing people and stuff. This is the problem with food, and I experience this quite a bit where I'm at because I live in California. So there are a fuck ton of hipsters that ruin all of the foods. It's just terrible, like honey and, you know, milk and everything. What was the big one? Like 2016. Cucumber water, guys. It's $6 a bottle. Like, are you fucking
What in the
me?
fuck are you saying, that they squeeze cucumbers? And
No, they slice cucumbers and put it in bottled water, and that was like a Whole Foods meme for, you know, for a while.
That's fucking stupid, man. I mean, but please.
You have, like, no joke, just within 5 minutes from where I live, there are probably 3 or 4 farmers markets. There's like a local fresh only food store where we only bring in organic chicken, organic cows, cruelty free, all of these things, right? And you know for a fact that A, with them selling it at those prices, and B, with the demand for it in the area, not all of that is what they say it is. You know, there's no way. You couldn't keep up with that. So, hipsters, seriously, they ruin so much food. They really do. And then they're like, oh, I've got an allergy to this, so they can't eat this specific thing. And it's like, oh, holy fuck. You're just, you know, the large nut allergy. Holy... It grinds my gears, you know? Like, I'm like, oh, just my head feels like it's going to explode when I hear that shit. Yeah, see, Tema knows. Cucumber water was like 4 times the price, too. Yeah. Yep, it was. So, we were on milk, and I think... did you want to go over like the story for that kid, or do you?
Well, basically, it was the mom bought the kid raw milk, right? And the kid got the E. coli. Fucked this kiddies up for a while, and then they figured, what it was, and they treated him. It took a long time. The kid grew up and looked pretty healthy to me, man. I mean, his neck muscles looked strong as shit. The kid looked healthy, and and he was like giving this sob story like he had fucking PTSD from being in the hospital and shit. And I'm like going, this kid is fucked up. He needs a shrink. He needs a shrink more than he needs anything. Because his mother,
the milkman.
It's the mom. His mother was crazy. You could tell, man.
Yeah.
You could tell she was one of those overprotective, crazy ass helicopter moms that is like, holy shit, man, just give
I totally know what you're talking about.
Put dirt on that wound
all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
No shit. It's like I say, put dirt on the wound.
So we've got chickens and garlic. Those are the last two.
All right, so chicken. It covered the big chicken producers in the United States. Tyson's is number one. There was Pilgrim was number two, and then there's a couple more, right? But Tyson's and Pilgrim are the two main ones. And these guys that they focused on in South Carolina worked for Pilgrim. And what they do, the way Pilgrim is that they raise the chickens and then they ship them out to these guys that put them in houses and raise them to the point of where they're ready to eat. And then boom, they come and get them. They've got wranglers and shit to go get the chickens. And then they bring them back and they slaughter them, and boom, that's it. And so it's a 57-day process that they use for these chickens to make them really big and fat and juicy and shit. It's a specific type of chicken that they bred. They've been bred so much to be domesticated, they can't fucking feed themselves now, okay? They, they can't fly, not even a little bit like they used to. It's like you go on a chicken farm or an old school farm that had, your egg-giving chickens and then a rooster and shit, right? The rooster would probably be able to fly a little bit. But now they can't even do that shit, right? And
part of that was that they couldn't even clean up their own feces. Like they couldn't.
Right.
They couldn't. Most animals will separate their feces out from the rest of their living area,
right?
And they can't even do that,
right? And they say that these houses are so strong with the ammonia from their piss is that you have to wear a breathing mask to go in there, and that just sounds fucking disgusting, So it focuses on this dude that was this guy that was from Vietnam that had immigrated here when he was a kid, and he just loves raising chickens, man. He just loved it. And this other dude, and then this sheriff. And what happened was during February 2015, some dude basically killed all the chickens in their house. I mean, and the way the process works is that this whole batch of chickens, which I don't know how many chickens it would have been, what about like 2,000 or 3,000? I don't know. It was a shitload.
I thought he said 10,000.
10,000? Okay.
Yeah, 10,000 per hothouse.
Right. And so what he did was he turned the heat up and made it to where they died of carbon monoxide, right? So all these dead chickens, right? He suffocated them. So 10,000 chickens overnight, and he had done this to several other growers around and they found out who the guy was. They had him busted because his cell phone was enough to follow him everywhere. As a matter of fact, it was so convincing that the judge signs off on it, and then later the judge dismisses the case for lack of evidence. Right? Yeah. The same fucking evidence that he signed off on the search warrant for.
Which is really, really weird because when you saw those cell phone pings, they're like, in the middle of these fucking farms.
When they were being killed, you know, I mean, it's
when the power went out. Yeah,
I mean that's enough to get people convicted of murder now, you know, and and the guy that was accused of it was working, if I'm not mistaken, he was working for the same grower, wasn't he?
Yeah. So they all worked for Pilgrims.
Right,
every
exactly.
single farm in this was a Pilgrim's farm.
Right,
and I think we should probably explain the framework around this that would cause
so
somebody to do
fucking
that.
Weird. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, man.
So they have a pay system based off how efficiently you grow the chickens, right? So these chickens, you don't actually own the chickens. You own the hothouse. They own the chickens. They own the feed. You are leasing the chickens from them while you grow them. So you're not even a farmer, you're a chicken grower, right? And then what they do is they rate you based off your efficiency. If you used less food than the next guy to get so many pounds of chicken and good quality chicken, then you got a bonus pay. But the bonus pay comes out of the bottom end of the grower's pay. So it literally fucks over like the bottom 3 people for all of the farming, which inherently is a bad design, because while it does create competition and probably increases productivity, you are breeding resentment, and this is just a ticking time bomb waiting for shit like this to happen.
Right.
You know? I mean, anyone could have seen this shit coming from a mile away. And what happens? The chicken company, Pilgrims, basically says, "Oh, you guys lost all those chickens? Fuck you."
Right.
You know?
We don't owe you nothing. And you know, and what they had, you know, said earlier is that it was a record month, right? So it was going to be a record month for everybody, right? And so you know, so if the guy like kills them, all right, then he gets to move up that stupid ladder and make the you know maximum amount per pound of chicken. Right, exactly. And you could see with the fucking setup like that some dumbass was going to try to cut corners and game the system, and that's exactly what happened. And so it ended up that the company ended up letting the guy off the hook, man. They must have greased the right palms or something, man, because I mean they had him dead to rights. And it didn't make sense to me why they would let him get off, and let the others suck hind tit. I don't even know if they could have made a insurance claim off of that. I don't know how that works, right? Because it reminded me of, what it reminded me of, man. It reminded me of the old coal industry. And the way that they would set up everything to the government store, and you would end up being in debt, even though you were staying on their property, living in their house, buying food from their stores, right? And they were docking your pay instead of you paying that, you just pick up what you need, right? Yeah. And it's a similar kind of situation where the corporations got the upper hand. The game is rigged for the house to win.
Yeah, well, so it's exactly like Metaphor said in chat there. He says it's a pyramid scheme, and that's absolutely right.
Exactly.
It's 100% a pyramid scheme. And the worst part about this is that there's no way to do an insurance claim because these aren't their chickens. So it's not that they lost money, it's that they just didn't get paid.
Right.
So now, what was it? That guy said the Vietnamese guy who lost 140,000 chickens or something.
Yeah, his last name was Nguyen, which is odd for a Vietnamase person. I'm kidding.
Well, so
sorry.
so essentially,
I thought a little Lathith. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's cool. Essentially, he says, he's completely screwed out of his gas bill for like $50,000. He's screwed out of just everything. There's a ton of bills, and That happened in 2015, and in 2018 he was still recovering from it.
Damn.
That is slavery, man.
Yeah.
You know, that like, you know, and it was really sad. And this is one of the few things, normally I don't really like a sappy story, but this Vietnamese guy was in love with his job. He loved it.
And he said it over and over again. I love my job like some people love their wives. I love chickens like people love their children. And I'm like, God damn, this dude loves loves chickens, man. I mean, you know, and you could tell he was heartbroken, you know.
Yeah.
The look in his eye was very, it was heart-wrenching. You know, I'll be honest, you know, it touched something in me, man, you know.
Well, because not only do you know that he got fucked over by a random farmer, but he completely got fucked over by the large producers too. Because, I mean, really, they had evidence. Who do you think paid them off? Paid that guy off? You know,
right?
Like, why do you think this got swept under the rug so quickly so production could keep going? You know, like it's better for a large corporation to have you under their thumb and in debt than it is for you to be profitable.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so
it's sad.
I mean, I'm going all conspiracy theory on this shit, but
no shit. Well, but it's just like the you know the you know, it's just like the company store concept. The way that they ran that's North Carolina, man, and South Carolina.
Yeah,
that's business, man. You got indentured fucking servants. It don't matter.
Pretty much.
You know, you don't need black slaves. You know. I mean, basically what they did was they modified slavery and how it worked, and just, you know, after slavery was illegal, they said, we'll just take it, we'll do it with white people. We don't give a shit. Free labor is free labor.
Yeah.
It's sad, man, because you know it's like you were saying that, you know, the dude, you could tell he was just brokenhearted. So
yeah.
But you know, God, once again, you know, trying to cut corners.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be the overbearing theme.
Yes,
in this
for everything.
Documentary. For everything, yeah. It's like, okay, you know, there's a large corporation that's trying to cut corners, that's trying to screw the farmer out of money, no matter what it is, right?
Right.
Then you also have the market that's being flooded by essentially Chinese products.
Right.
Which are not necessarily pure, which is, you know, that's not an arm's length transaction. That's not fair trade.
No, especially with the garlic, because the garlic is. See, this is a perfect segue into the garlic, because the whole episode of garlic is just like most of the garlic that's coming into the United States now is made in China. I mean, it's grown in China. Grown in China and picked by fucking slave labor, which are people that are in prison. Okay?
Yeah.
They're prisoners and most of them are political prisoners, man. You know? Communism bad.
Communist China.
Exactly. You know? And this guy escapes and tries to form his own company and shit, and these other growers, you know, they realize that this company has got like a chokehold on all the fucking garlic that's going everywhere, and everybody loves garlic, man. Garlic is one of the most important ingredients in every style of cooking, you know, every you know, everything, man.
It's part of the trifecta: salt, pepper, garlic.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because it's such it's such a basic ingredient, and a lot of times when something's missing, put garlic in it, and it'll fix it right up. But that's
I'm going to agree with Nope in the chat. He says the garlic isn't anywhere near as good as it used to be.
Nope.
I grow my own garlic. I completely understand what you're saying.
Right, and the best way to tell, in my opinion, is to look and see if it's if it's purplish, then it's good garlic. Because it's fully matured, and it'll have a slight purple, kind of a violet kind of tint to it, right? The garlic that's grown in China, they don't wait for it to get, they just wait for it to get green, and then boom, they'll yank it up. and you have to let it mature a little bit, because.
Well, why don't
go ahead?
Go ahead.
No.
Why don't we go over that story about the prisoner and the thumbnails? Because that was probably the one that got me. I was like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, man.
Okay. So in the documentary, they talk about the prison labor they use to essentially peel garlic, because peeled garlic is a much bigger market. A lot of people like to buy. The two major companies that are the biggest in the industry right now, which are associated with each other, are Christopher Ranch, which I have seen that everywhere where I live. And I used to think it was like Christopher Ranch Organic, because we actually have a field close to us. But then after watching this documentary and looking into it, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They're not in any way. And Harmony, I don't know if it's Harmony Garlic or just Harmony.
Yeah, it's Harmony. They're the big one.
They're the big one that sells to Christopher Ranch from China. And Harmony uses prison labor. So when Irate was talking about slave labor, these are legitimately slaves.
Yeah. And
they're told they've got to peel 20 kilos of garlic a day, right? And after a while, their thumbnails start to fall off.
It's fucking 80 pounds.
Yeah. So their thumbnails will fall off, and they, instead of using their thumbnails, they chew the end off of the garlic to peel it with their teeth. They're touching food with their mouth, and you're buying it. That's fucking disgusting. that is gross. Like that, I was like right there. I'm like, oh god, I can't.
Fucking nasty.
Oh,
that is nasty as shit.
Yeah, and did you see? I don't know if you saw closely on the documentary. There was one guy chewing the garlic, like nipping the ends off of it, and he had tooth decay and blood was on the garlic.
Yeah,
like,
man. It was like, holy shit.
Gross.
Oh man, I forgot all about that, dude.
God.
There's so much fucking information in this damn thing. You know, that's one thing. If I've got any complaint, it's just like too much. And they might have been able to squeeze out 2 episodes on each subject.
Right?
Yeah, you know. Fuck. We pretty much have gotten everything covered. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover before we start talking about the grading
I
and
think,
what we're going to do next week and all that shit?
Didn't you want to go over the RICO case, or you want to?
Oh fuck yeah! Oh man, I totally forgot about that. So Harmony, which is the guy that has got the chokehold on the garlic, import, and basically all the garlic that's pretty much all over the world is being controlled by this one company, right? So these little growers in the United States get together and they decide that, okay, we're going to try to do our own thing and form a co-op. Well, the huge corporation says, oh yeah, and they filed a RICO case against them, right? For racketeering, right? Racketeering. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind this, of course, was to bleed these motherfuckers dry, suck every penny they can out of them. And what happened was another one of these Chinese competitors used the situation as an opportunity to stock this one company up. So somebody caved in the group, right? And it was the dude that looked like Jimmy Carter, with the fucking big fat lips and shit.
Yeah, here's where I think we disagree a little bit, because while I do see it as, yes, another Chinese company did help them out, I also see it as the other side, those guys that were complaining about it, that had a really nice house and nice decorations around them. Yeah, they got bought.
You think
they got straight up? But they told you in the documentary,
right? But they said that they got $5,000 this one time, and then a loan for $15,000
No, that was from the original co-op they were trying to join. They got way more money from Harmony.
Right,
after they switched sides.
Oh, okay. So that explains like because I was going, goddamn, that's like original artwork behind them. The hippies, the two hippies, the former hippies. So they sold out.
Yeah, they sold out.
They sold out, and so I knew somebody had like fucked somebody else over, the rest of the group over, because somebody rolled.
Yep.
Once again, cutting corners, for the easy buck.
Yeah, well, it's sad because this is, this is sort of a natural. How would I put this? It's just what happens. I mean, it's literally naturally what happens when it comes to business. Anytime anyone tries to start up something new and somebody sees it as competition, they're looking for a way to squash it. So they'll file fictitious claims if they know you can't fight them, and then they'll try and flip people that are on your side with money because they know you don't have the money to do that.
Yep.
And they do it, in the industry I work in. They do it in a lot of different industries. Nope says all hippies are sellouts, fucking boomers. He's probably right. Most people.
Most ex-hippies are real boomers. They're the real boomers. I'm Generation X, people. I'm old, but I'm not a fucking boomer by definition. I was a punk. Not a hippie. A punk. All right. So so basically the deal, is that people will fuck each other over, for this industry, which is, billions and billions of dollars. These separate industries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Irate, imagine this. Imagine you have the chance to do the right thing, but you might or might not get paid out, but you'll definitely get enough to cover your expenses. Versus getting paid out without doing any work. 90% of people are going to take that.
Yep.
Come on. There's some good people out there, but there's a lot of people that they're desperate. I mean, farming is a hard industry, and you have to make money.
It was interesting to see the two people with the milk thing, because you had the little blonde lady. She and her husband got in the milk business when it was at the perfectly wrong time to get in, when it was at the peak, and so they paid top dollar for everything, all the equipment, blah blah blah, and then 2 years later, there was a huge dip, in the market, and man, the way that the milk market runs is fucking psycho. It's determined by like futures and computers, man. I mean,
yep.
Basically, and that's like, okay. I don't know, man. I think I've said all I can say about this thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I think I pretty much. How about why don't we give it our ratings? Because we didn't do that.
We haven't given them ratings yet. Okay. All right. Irate Prostate says, okay, this really wasn't my cup of tea. 100,000%. I love this kind of stuff, but I like more of the Neil deGrasse Tyson. I like the universe shit, right? But I really loved the criminal aspect of it, okay, and the research is well done. The presentation is I don't know. It can be. I think they could have tweaked it, and one way or the other, made it shorter or longer. I don't know. So I'm going to give it as a whole. For me, I'm going to give it about a 6.5. It's something to check out. I would have given it more if it would have been, I don't know, a little more, I don't know, there was just something missing from it. It seemed a little fabricated, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that they were definitely pushing a narrative throughout the documentary, which is, I mean, it's not like a good documentary just shows you what's actually happening.
Exactly, and you get and lets you make up your mind, right?
Exactly, and this tried to portray, like almost all corporations as bad. In some cases, some corporations are not horrible. For instance, there's a company that's on the West Coast here called Winco. It's employee owned, and so it's not a horrible company to work for. It's a big company, So I would say that it's a little bit one-sided. I really, really hated the tug at your heartstring stories for every episode. Yeah. I thought that was a dumb way to go. You could have put way more science into this. You could have explained the industry much better. But instead, you chose to take what were they, an hour and 10 minutes or something per episode?
Usually about an hour, right at an hour, yeah. And
they chose to take it and make about 15 minutes of essentially character development when you don't need that in a documentary.
No, you don't.
It should speak for itself.
Right.
So that's a big no-no for me in documentaries. As for the information provided, I would say it was about 80% accurate. I went through and I looked up a bunch of things. I did some research on this, and for the most part, it looks like it's pretty close to accurate on a surface level. I didn't exactly buy the $35 papers you can get off of Science Journal Today.
Right.
But it looked pretty close to accurate. I'd give it an 80% on that. And with that said, I completely agree with the 6.5 out of 10 rating.
All right, cool. Well, damn.
Yeah.
I thought we was going to have to get in a fight.
No. And this is right up. This is right up my alley.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So
yeah,
I don't know. I thought you would have given it maybe a higher, but so it was the emotional appeal that pissed you off the most.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
I get it, man. I can see exactly what you're talking about. There's the chicken guy, the kid and the milk. There's always that one person that's like, blah blah blah, got fucked, and it's like, okay, we know you got fucked and blah blah blah, I think, you know what I think? I think that was probably an executive decision by some sexist piece of shit that said we got to have something to get so women will want to watch it.
That's true. That's true.
That's just my gut opinion.
Yeah.
But you want to tell them about next week, True Crime Week?
Right. Next week we are watching the series called I Am a Killer.
Right. How many episodes? How many episodes is it?
That's a good question. Let me pull it up real quick. But that is about inmates on death row, whether or not they say they're innocent, guilty, or they would do it again, type of thing.
Exactly. It's a variable cornucopia of type of prisoner reactions, and which is really what you get. If you're really looking at doing a good documentary on prisoners. Because it's like every time I would go into prison to take kids, there was always the one, that was like, I'm innocent, and you knew they weren't. And then there was the one that says, man, I'm glad I'm here because I would be fucking people up right now. I'd be like, scared.
Yeah. So it's 10 episodes, and they're 51-minute episodes. Do you want to do
you want to split
half and half?
Yeah. 5 this month and then 5 next month.
Yeah, and this time I'm looking at it, so I won't mess up and say it's 10 episodes, but it's really 6.
No, that was fine, man. No, it was a good thing. I think it was good because given the whole situation, I think we knew how the fish thing was going to play out.
Exactly.
Big fish.
Big business, China screwing people up.
Right, exactly, and there's some family, that's getting fucked over, to pull on heartstrings. So
yeah, that's another thing. That documentary is predictable. So
yep, All right, people. Well, on that note, this is Irate Prostate, and who are you, Bubba?
Big Fat Brian, Thug Life fam.
All right, people, we'll see y'all next time, and y'all have a great week. And like I said, we'll be talking about I Am a Killer. So get prepped and join us next week. Thanks.